Greetings everyone and welcome in this video where we will build the elements that will drive the width and the height of our bridge. This is where we stopped last time, and let's just explain what we will be doing, or let's say my logic behind what I will do. If you remember, we basically do have this transform node, and we used this transform node to control basically the placement of the two copies that will act basically as the width for our bridge. So in a logical way, we need to control this value, which is the translation y of this node. And we do have another transform node, which is on the bottom, which will basically control the height. As you can see right here, it is responsible to controlling the height, and I only need to use the z-axis for this node. Let's just leave it at 5 meters. So in a perfect world, I will have this width right here, which will basically allow me to control the width of our bridge. So how to achieve such thing? It is not that complicated. Basically, this group input will control what will appear right here. So if I go right here and go to group, I will be able to add other inputs. In this case, I want to input the width. So I'm going to click on this plus button and I'm going to rename this to something like width. And as you can see, I will have this property right here and I'm able to change it. And for its type, I'm going to leave it as a float, which is basically a usual number like 0.1, 1, 3.1 and all of that. And for the minimum, I'm actually going to set it to something like minus 10,000. And for the maximum, I'm just going to put it at 10,000. I'm just doing this because Blender is not really good at dealing with a huge number. So even in case, for example, I share this file with some other people, I will guarantee that at least they will use values that Blender can work with, and they will not input crazy numbers that will break the software. So if you think about it, if I right now plug this width to the translation, I will be able to control the translation from here, and look what will happen. So if I do this, as you can see, I'm basically moving those ropes, but something is happening. Look at this. They are basically being moved in the x-axis and the y-axis and the z-axis all at the same time. And the main reason for that, if I just hit Control right mouse button to cut this link, is that the translation accepts 3 values, x and y and z. And when I plug this, basically Blender will use the value that I'm using right here on the x, on the y, on the z. So it is basically moving this rope on all the different axes. And the time that what I want is basically to tell Blender, hey Blender, I want you only to move this rope only on the y-axis. I only want you to change the y-axis. So how can we tell Blender such thing? Well, there is a really handy node called Combine XYZ, which is basically the same settings that are right here. So if I just plug here right here, you will be able to see that it is like literally the same exact properties. The only difference right now is that I will have these different sockets that I can use to control only one axis. So in our case, we only want to tell Blender to change the width on the y-axis. That's why I'm just going to take the width and just plug it to the y. And by doing this, as you can see, I will be able to only change the location of those ropes only on the y-axis. And that's exactly how we created the element of the width. Now, the only thing that I just want to explain is that our process of scaling the width, it is basically happening by moving only this side. What I mean is, if I just hit 7 to jump to the top view, basically when I change the width, I'm only moving this one either there or there. But that's not a really good approach, because what I want to do is basically to tell Blender that, hey Blender, what I want you to do is basically to move this bad boy right there, and I want you also to move this one right here. So in other words, when I move this, for example, let's say I'm going to move this, which is this one, 1 meter in this direction. I also want to move the other one also on the other axis -1. So how can we do such thing? It is actually pretty simple and it is not that complicated. Basically, what we need to tell Blender is that, hey Blender, we want you to reverse this operation and just apply it on the other side. So let's add a transform node, which is the exact same node we've been using, and let's put it right here. This node right now will control the original rope, which is this one. As you can see, if I just change, for example, the translation, it will allow me to control this one. And let's do the same exact setup, which is basically by Shift D, adding another combine XYZ by duplicating it. Let's take the width, plug it to the Y, and plug it to the translation. And both of these right now are on each other. And what we want to tell Blender is to move this transform node, the original curve, on an opposite direction. An opposite direction means that, for example, if I move this 5 meter, this one is basically get translated on the y-axis 5 meter. I also want this one to get translated minus 5. And how can we convert a 5 to a minus 5? Well, basically by just multiplying it by minus 1. So if I go right here, Shift A, and let's look for a math node, and I'm going to change it from add to multiply, and let's put it right here, and we want to multiply it by minus 1. Nothing is happening because I just disabled this transform node, so just hit M to activate it again, and as you can see, basically right now we're controlling the width from the center. And let's set up this bad boy to something like 5, or let's say 3, or let's say 2, and yeah, this is looking pretty good, I guess. And right now, after we build the width controller, right now let's focus a little bit on the height controller, which will basically control how high our ropes are. And what is the transform node controlling that? It is this transform node right here. And basically by controlling the z-axis, we will be able to control the height. So what I'm going to do is to go to this group input, and let's add, let's say rope. And I'm going to take the socket and let's just move it to right here. But the same problem, right now Blender will apply this value to all the different axes, X, Y, and Z. And we only wanted to apply this value only on the Z axis. So to do such thing, we need another combine X, Y, Z. Let's put it right here. Right now, we're only applying this value to the X. We only want to apply it to the Z. And by doing this, we will have the rope height right here. I think that this is actually pretty simple. And let's just put it at 5, or let's say 4. I'm really bad at getting the values exact from the first try. And yeah, we just built the width controller and the height controller. That easy. Let's hit Control Space Bar to maximize the node tree or the geometry node editor. And we need to clean up this mess that we just made. Okay, it is gonna be fun and not that complicated, I promise. So for this resample curve, I'm just going to put it right here, and let's put both of these two nodes to something like this. Basically, they are above each other, so they are easy to recognize. And let's put this here. And as you can see, this combine XYZ and this one are both using the same exact socket. So if I just go close to right here and I hit Shift and I drag over the two links, I will create a rerouting node. And basically what I'm going to do is, let's say put this here, and I'm going to bring here, that's here to that, so that becomes a straight line. And let's put this here, and I'm going to create another rerouting node, Shift right mouse button, and let's put it here. And for this one, let's also move these here, Shift right mouse button, put these here, something just like so. And this line that is going to this combine XYZ, it is also looking super ugly because it is crossing the entire node tree. So Shift right mouse button, let's put it here, Shift right mouse button, let's do this, Shift right mouse button, and let's just do this. Let's also select both of these and GY to just move them slightly down. And yeah, by doing this, I think that this node tree is right now readable, and it will be easy later basically to know what node is responsible for what. So yeah, at the end of the day, organizing your node tree is not that complicated. And yeah, you should always do that so that you don't get lost. That's it for me for this video, and I will see you in the next one. Also, make sure to save your file.